Hey everyone, it's Niharo here, and
I am Henry Lopez, the president of Paradigm Concepts.
And you're also, I'm sorry,
Cutting you off.
and you're the one who, these are your creations.
Exactly. I am the main writer as well as the president of the company. I have been writing since I was a little boy. I love to write.
Super pretty version.
And when I finally had the opportunity to found my own gaming company, I launched right into it, and I've been writing Arcanis, which is... This is the main core book. Arcanis, the world of the Shattered Empires. I've been writing and developing this world for over 20 years professionally, and previous to that, I was writing campaigns and whatnot, little by little, building the different pieces. But we've been publishing Arcanis since the year 2001.
Okay.
We started out as this little 32-page black and white third edition.
Oh, wow.
And now we're up to this point.
Wow, okay. And some of the pictures of the artwork is really good.
Thank you.
It's really good.
We've been very, very fortunate to work with some spectacularly talented artists. The cover is by a gentleman from Spain named Santi Casas. And the interior, many of it, not all, but many of it is by the person who defined the look of Arcanis, Pat LeBoyko, a Chicago resident who is incredibly talented. This is an example of his work, and you'll find it throughout the
Cool, that's awesome. And I'm sorry, I interrupted before you. Tell me all about your company. What all do you publish? What all do you have here?
Well, we publish role-playing games. Like I said, we started as a D20 publisher with Arcanis. Then we branched out. We published at one point Witch Hunter, The Invisible World.
Okay.
I love supernatural, Solomon Kane-ish kind of thing. That was sold, that IP was sold to another company called Alligator Alley, so if you're interested, you can always grab that.
Okay.
But then we followed up with Rotted Capes, Superheroes versus Zombies and Super Zombies.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry, I don't have the core book. We sold out of the show, but here's an example.
There's an empty shelf or empty table.
It's all gone. It's all
I
gone.
see you've moved stuff to fill it up
Exactly.
when I came here yesterday.
Yeah. So it's a superheroes versus zombie game.
Okay.
It's a toolbox kind of game, so you can play it based upon your own preference.
Okay.
If you want something that's tongue-in-cheek like Shaun of the Dead, you're supported. If you want something gritty and dark like Walking Dead, you're supported.
Okay.
So people love that game. It's a great beer and pretzels kind of game.
Okay.
So that's fun.
Can I ask you just a couple of questions about some of these? Arcanis, what system is this?
Oh, well, right now we're running, we have Arcanis in two systems, but the primary one is 5th edition.
Okay.
But we've taken 5th edition and tweaked it a lot.
Okay.
For example, 5th edition has, like normal Dungeons & Dragons, paladins. We don't have paladins, we have holy champions. Only because I have a pantheon of gods, and we have 13 of them. So I have 13 different holy champions, each one tailor-made for the god. Because for us, although mechanics is very important, the story is more important. So we make the mechanics fit the story, not the other way around.
And I really saw this thumbing through and looking at these books. I've looked at a lot of these kind of books. Right. So when you look at it, you're like, okay, this is something I would sit and read, honestly, for hours and hours. And then my players would be like, how do you know all this lore? And you'd be like, don't ask too many questions.
Well, the funny thing is, the lore is the thing that draws a lot of players, but it also detracts a lot of players from picking up because it is pretty intense. Although I would like to tell your viewers, you don't have to jump into the deep end of the pool right away. You can just pick a spot and then grow and grow and grow your lore. You don't have to learn all the 60,000 years of history of games.
Right. And you've been developing over 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
Yeah, sure. And then the other system, do you have your own system?
Yes. So back in the day, let me grab this real quick. Sorry to get off camera. Back in the day when, after D20, when Wizards went from 3rd edition to 4th edition, it wasn't a good fit for us, so we decided to do our own system. This won the Origins Award for Best Role-Playing Game in 2012, and it is extremely different from D&D in 3rd edition or 5th edition.
Okay. Can you give me lingo from the biz of what it's like, what the system is like?
Well, sure. It has a fluid combat system in the sense that you only roll initiative once. It puts you on what we call the clock, just like a normal everyday watch.
Okay.
And at that point, when you go is dependent upon what you do.
Okay.
So, let's say you roll your dice, you get a 1. Right?
Okay.
So dice, you go first. What do? I swing my Gladius at the creature, you do your attack, you do your damage, blah, blah. The last thing you do, you look at your character sheet, it says swinging a Gladius is 5 ticks. So you have 5 plus 1, you go get on 6.
Okay.
Somebody with daggers...
So it's a count-up initiative system, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it works for everything from magic to weapons to skills to anything. It has a movement. So the nice thing about it is it's very, very fluid.
Yeah.
Because once you get set, and once you're familiar with that system, it just goes.
Does it lean into the idea of you're casting some spells take a very long time to cast, but are very powerful?
Exactly.
Okay.
Plus the fact that we have strain. Okay. One of the things I don't like is the premise of I know a spell, I cast it, and I forgot it.
Right.
That always bothered me.
It doesn't make it. It's very gamey. It's very gamey. Yeah.
So we put another mechanic, a break, if you will.
Okay.
That makes sense of the story. Because magic for us is you are pulling in the residual energy of creation, of the initial creation of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And you're pulling that in and somehow manipulating it to create whatever you want. Right. Well, the human body isn't meant to have that much energy. So you cast a spell once, you're fine. But that spell has strain of 4, let's say. Okay. So although you could go previous to, let's say the tick is 3. So you go on 4, but the strain is 4. So you want to be able to cast you can do whatever you want. You can move, you can swing your ladies, you can do whatever, but you can't cast a spell until 4 ticks after that.
Okay.
Unless you have to. Which is a mechanic when you take the strain, you double it, and you take that as damage. And that is like you are pushing your body to cast that spell.
That's really cool.
And the players actually say that if you're not doing more damage to yourself than the monsters are, you're not doing your job. So
that's awesome, and that's like the versus reward thing.
Exactly.
A lot of when we're talking about mechanics and stuff like that, and advantages, disadvantages, it's really the disadvantages and the limitations on abilities that add so much flavor. But a lot of people say it makes, and I would say it makes it what it is. It makes the ability feel.
Exactly.
Gives you that flavor. Yeah.
The other thing that I'm very proud of, and it's not everybody's playstyle, but I wrote in conflict at every level. On the species level, on the religious level, on the nation-to-nation level, secret societies.
Yeah.
Not to the point where it's not animosity, I see you, I want to kill you, kind of thing. Right. But it's always that, do I turn my back on you? Do I trust you?
People are working, they're complex. They're working angles, they have their own interests.
Exactly. Well, for example, talk about religion. The Elori, which is our elf analog, the elves analog, their gods were destroyed by the human gods.
Okay.
Of one. Right?
Okay.
So there's that
there's something going on there, yeah.
You didn't do it, but your gods did, and you're worshiping the people who destroyed my gods, so do I trust you? So there's always that friction. And I always write adventures where it's what is in the interest of the characters. I'm doing this in my best interest, although I don't trust you, but this is to my benefit, so I have to work with you to accomplish X or Y.
Right. So very much like real life in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to infuse.
I wanted to just say, I just want to say very much, and this is no reflection on Henry, but very much like real life. Sometimes you got to work with people you don't want to, who have different interests and don't always align with yours.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you don't mind.
No.
A little too on the nose there.
No. But since you picked up the book, just to segue.
Oh yeah.
This is our new book for the year.
Oh, this is Scions.
This is the Psionics rule set for 5th edition, complete rule set. It has been play tested for 4.5 years, thoroughly by our living campaign.
That's awesome.
So those guys really put it through their paces, and they love it.
That's awesome.
It's a riff on it's its own class, so it's not a subclass of something else, but it's a riff off of the Warlock, but it has a lot more versatility.
Okay,
that's really cool. In the book, you have the Scion class, the Psi Warrior, the Wilder. We also have preternatural psionics. We have psionic dueling rules, all sorts of stuff.
Oh man, that's awesome. Just to give my background on that, first edition when you could roll, and there was some for those who don't know, very first edition. Well, not first, was it AD&D?
Yeah,
okay, yeah. First edition, you would roll, and I didn't play these when it came out, but I played.
I did. I did. I'm that old.
And there was a small chance you could have some psionic ability, and then you would have a few powers you could roll in these tables. The DM's guide had all these great tables, and then
I had all these evocative powers like Tower of Iron Will, Eagle Whip, and all that stuff.
Yeah. And then 3.5, they had a lot of that. So I've been into it since those days. And so before I could even play it, I was just reading a lore book. So this is really cool.
Yeah.
I just want to say that like everything you have here, the lore is so much too. If you're playing in a different system, like I often mention, I typically play in GURPS. It's heavily modified. It's not really GURPS anymore. I think the lore you have here, like these books are worth it just for the lore.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love to write, and sometimes they tell me I overwrite, but I just love the stories, and I like to make sure that the person who's purchasing a book is really getting their biggest bang for their buck.
That's cool.
So they're getting not just mechanics, but they're getting a good.
These are thick books that are. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off. I just really like this product. Can you tell me about the price point on some of your products?
Surely. The core book is 416 pages.
Okay.
Full color. They're all full color. That one's $60.
They look really good.
One thing I do want to tell you is that I'm a bibliophile. I love books.
Okay.
So all of our hardbacks, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but they all can lay flat without cracking the spine because they're Smith sewn.
Okay.
So you'll never have a situation where the pages are going to be flying out in a year or 2 years. That's important for us.
So you can have this in 40 years.
I sure hope. I so. I hope I'm around for 40 years. So let you know. But so this one is a 256-page book. This is $50. And then we have, for example, Forge of Magic Reports, which is a 300 brand new magic items for 5th edition, each one with a little storybook to it. And let me tell you, writing storybooks for potions is not easy, but we did it. So that's $45. Okay. Blessed Lance is $45. Sephagor is $50. It all depends on the size of the book. We also have smaller books. These we call splat books back in the day.
Okay.
Softbacks, PODs. So we have one Codex of Adventures, Volume 1, that has 8 different adventures for various levels.
Okay.
Codex of Adventures Volume 2 is coming out in your Kickstarter at the end of September.
Okay.
And it is also a series of adventures. However, these are linked, so it's like a mini campaign. Starts at 4th level, ends at 10th.
That's awesome.
So we have that.
That's awesome. Well, Henry, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me
so
today.
much.
Before we go, there's one thing I ask everybody, which is like, we're all nerds, clearly, some of us larger than others. Those of us who read lore books just for fun, so that our players can ask us any random question. We're like, well, oh no, the actual history of that. What got you into nerd culture? What got you into gaming?
Since I was a boy, I started reading, believe it or not, you probably never heard of it, Doc Savage and the Shadow Pulp novels.
I've not.
These are things back in the 1930s that were, these are novels that were written back in the 1930s that were like action adventures, like the precursors to Indiana Jones. Okay, that kind of adventures. And they reprinted them in the 60s. So when I was a little boy in 1971, 72, I picked up my first Doc Savage novel, started reading it, and I love that just filled my imagination. So all sorts of lost cities and lost people and all sorts of stuff. And I just wrote. Not very well, to be honest with you, when I was a kid. Hopefully I've learned something in 20 years.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what I love. I'm a big Star Trek nerd. I mean, I'm a Trekkie, coming through. But, that doesn't mean I don't like Babylon 5. I like everything. This thing where you niche yourself into one thing, I think it's self-defeating because there's so much good stuff out there. Why not enjoy it all?
Right.
So,
absolutely.
My point of view.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you.
I can't wait to play.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.